Who's opening?
That's a good question.
You did it last time.
But we're already rolling. You want to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Two Dudes Talking Motorcycle podcast. My name is Mitch.
And my name is Gleb. And yeah. Look at this. Mitch got a new place. So
I moved. It's only been 3 months since I mentioned that.
He moved, and now we have a new spot to record in, thanks to...
We have a dedicated recording spot now. So
thanks to Mitch.
We're moving up.
We're moving up in the world. At least he is. I'm still where I'm at. But I did get a new job, so that's very fun.
Yeah.
So we both had something new happen, which is pretty exciting.
Good stuff.
But enough about our lives. Let's talk motorcycles. And this week we wanted to cover cold weather riding and cold weather storage and just general prep for winter. For those of you that live in the colder places of the world.
How to treat your bike nice during those non-riding months.
Exactly.
You
And
or light riding months, I guess I should say.
And we both live here in Utah, so we got to be take some extra prep and extra what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of extra precautions and stuff like that. Now that
I was gonna say we just have to deal with we have to deal
winter
with my personal hell.
Yep, we have to deal with winter. We have to deal with snow and cold weather. And Mitch's shitty attitude in the winter, and Gleb's overly excited attitude because he goes snowboarding like every other Utahn in the state.
Oh man, nah. I think though, I know. Before we're going to jump into that, bit of sad news this week, Gleb.
Yeah, so Triumph announced the last edition of the Thruxton, and they are discontinuing the model, and it's the last one. And the new edition is it's pretty cool. I don't have a picture prepped, but I'm gonna put it here for the video folks and post. But for those that are listening, it is kind of like this green.
It's a beautiful British green.
Yeah. Beautiful green color with a gold line and gold Thruxton lettering on the
vintage
side
Triumph logo on there too.
It is absolutely beautiful looking, and I'm very sad to see the Thruxton go. I wonder if they're gonna replace it with something else.
Well, you had mentioned, I think with the Thruxton, because it is a pretty aggressive seating position. Our friend rides one. And yeah, so it is a pretty leaned over bike, and I think with the new Speed Twin, because it's still a Bonneville engine, so I think that they're just kind of my guess is that they're going to push for that a little more.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well.
And it kind of checks off all the marks for that the Thruxton had. I'd say the Thruxton looks a little more classic. You know? But I know that Triumph, they're reacting to business, and sales. And so maybe
unfortunately sometimes if a model is not selling too
nice
well,
looking bike though.
It gets taken out of production, which, maybe they'll bring it back in the future. Maybe they'll they'll come out with a whole new model. But I think right now that Speed Twin 1200.
Speed Twin 1200.
Yeah, Speed Twin 1200 is going to be what takes over for the Thruxton line, because they did bump it up this year with the Showa suspension, the Brembo brakes, the upside down forks. So it's kind of the more
talking to the Triumph guy at Eurosports Utah. I was walking through, I was just looking at bikes when I was buying stuff, and it was. And as I just mentioned, it's I really want a T120, man, those classic bikes. And he even said, you should look at these ones. They're roughly the same price. They have better suspension, a lighter frame.
Yeah.
So it very well could be. And I know for the type of bike that the Thruxton was, it was a crotch rocket sported as a classic.
Yeah.
But I know it did weigh more than a lot of those sport bikes.
Oh yeah. So, the whole Bonneville line is not a light.
They're heavy.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy. Your bike is way heavier than mine.
Oh yeah.
Even though mine looks like it's a bigger bike.
Yeah.
It just has that heavy frame on it.
Yeah. But I don't know, I'd say I'm sad to see it go, but at the same time, I think it is pretty reassuring to see that a manufacturer isn't just keeping a model around for model's sake.
Oh yeah. I definitely.
I think that they're actively engaging with their customers of what's selling, what's not, and we're adjusting, so
I agree. And I think it's business, they're companies and stuff, and
the Speed Twin, with the new updates and everything, they brought back the dual dial analog
oh yeah dials. That's right, they did, which I think all the Bonnevilles should have that.
Yeah,
I think it just looks beautiful, although yours is still like classic looking while being modern,
being
like,
TFT.
being a TFT, which is nice. But it is a bit of sad news. However, we're kind of excited to see what else Triumph might have in store. I mean, they're still
and what a send off for a model.
Yeah,
right. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, and they still yet to fully reveal their motocross bike. At least like the specs. They kind of showed it off at like last month over at like an event in California, but they still to fully reveal like the specs, the weight and stuff. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. Another bit of news. I think that's pretty much most of the news that at least we both had kind of a busy week, so
it's like I moved or something, or you started a new job.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
I don't know. Whatever. So yeah,
but in honor of the Thruxton, I bought a new shirt. Not really in honor of the Thruxton. I bought it was on sale. But it fits very well today.
I'm always repping Triumph stuff, so
we're not biased at all in this show. This show is very equal to all motorcycles,
but we have
mainly Triumph.
We have our personal preferences.
Exactly,
and Triumphs for us are the best.
Yeah,
so
because it's what we ride, so naturally we're biased. And we also had a comment. Let's give a little shout out to Ben over on YouTube. He was just he told us that he stumbled across our podcast on Spotify and is such a great channel in many ways, and I can't wait to see you guys grow your following. Ben, thank you so much for the shout out.
That was very kind.
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words.
It means a lot to. Yeah,
it really does. We absolutely love hearing from you guys, and whether it's feedback or suggestions, corrections. And speaking of corrections, so on the last episode, I talked about the G.
Oh, before you jump into that, I just wanted to say to Ben about because he wanted to know our thoughts on the NC 750X. So I had gone on. There was somebody who had attended one of our group rides. You weren't there for it, but she was on an NC 750 with DCT, and man, like, she could keep up. Well, that bike it could go.
Yeah.
She it did really well, and probably one of the coolest / nerdiest, but in a cool way things.
Yeah.
Was that frunk, the tank trunk?
Yeah.
Because she was able to, we stopped for tacos like we usually would.
Yeah.
We hop off. We're carrying in our jackets and helmets.
Mm-hmm.
She just opens up her little trunk and frunk and just stuffs everything in there.
That's
closes
cool.
it up, and she's done.
I think it's a very I personally haven't ridden one, but from like reading about it and looking at it and stuff, it looks like a very like super practical motorcycle. Like if you want a motorcycle to like replace your car or to like commute and stuff, that's a perfect bike for it. Especially with the DCT, I think that makes it even better. Yeah, because you got the storage, good fuel economy, good gas.
It's gonna be more fun than a scooter.
It's gonna be more fun than a scooter, and way more. And 750cc, that's enough for a highway.
Well, and like it does have pretty good suspension too. Like for how like it's got a lot of travel.
Yeah,
so. No, I think it's a very practical bike. If you would listen to our first episode, you kind of get an idea of how we feel about Honda's aesthetics on their bikes.
Yeah, that's I think mechanically and practicality wise, it's a good looking bike. I'm just not the biggest fan of how it looks.
Yeah, but
looks are subjective.
But yeah, like you said, practicality and reliability, Honda's they've nailed it.
And honestly, like if I get a chance to ride one, I would definitely not say no.
Yeah.
I'll take any chance to ride free motorcycle.
I'll ride any bike.
Yeah, I don't care what it is. Even a Harley. Just go. We still need to try to ride a higher.
We really do.
Yeah,
we've dogged on it. We've joked on them enough. We gotta try them.
We'll get around eventually. And also before we jump into the main topic today, I wanted to go over a couple of corrections. So in the last episode, I mentioned that the 1300 GS, it's got the SOS button, which is like the help roadside assistance type button if something happens. And I mentioned that it was new to this bike. One of our commenters, one of our listeners, commented on our. I'm trying to find the comment here.
I think it was actually just on the YouTube page. I don't think I ever saw like an email about it.
No, we usually get. We should have gotten it. Anyways, but he mentioned that he rides a R1250 GS and that he also has the SOS button. So that was a little bit, that was just my bad. I didn't double check that. I think the press release kind of made me think that it was a brand new feature, but it's cool that the older models have it too. That I didn't know that. And also one other slight, this isn't really a correction. This is more of a clarification. So I mentioned that I was talking about the center stand. I think all motorcycles should have a center stand just because it helps with maintenance and chain cleaning and things like that. The R1300 GS does not have a chain. It is a drive shaft.
Yeah.
And
found him. Yep.
And I wasn't really talking about the GS specifically in that. I was just kind of referencing my own experience with my Tiger. But for those that may have been confused in the last episode, or just know like chain cleaning definitely does not apply to the GS because it is a shaft driven bike. I just was talking in general that the center stand just helps a lot with
but I mean,
maintenance.
But good comment to Joe here.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know. Like, we welcome. If there's any corrections, or if you own the bike and you're like, wait a minute, that's not quite right. Shoot us an email, comment, and let us know. And I generally try to double check myself, but
same.
But we do this after work, and sometimes things slip up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my little correction and clarification. And once again, before we jump into our main topic, don't forget to follow us on social media. Follow us at Gleb Lapham.
I am at Meets2dbeach.
And you can follow our podcast Instagram at tdtmotorcycles on Instagram and Threads. And also feel free to shoot us your emails at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com. And
I'll let you finish. Sorry, my bad.
And also, when we go out on rides, we like to grab a coffee before we go on a ride.
Yes.
So you can help us out, but mainly help out the podcast, not just getting us coffee, by if you have spare change, or if you want to help support the podcast, we have Buy Me a Coffee. So it's buymeacoffee.com/tdtmotorcycles, and you can just support our podcast from there. It's not really going to go to coffee. We're going to try and save up and use it to pay for our hosting service and improve our equipment eventually and things like that. So
get some more equipment for some more content. And, like nothing we can really like share or anything right now, because nothing's like truly in the works. But like, I think we can both agree we've seen a lot of traction these last few months.
Oh yeah,
with the show. So
thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That's all for you. And if you know anybody who would like to support or would be interested,
spread the word. Let your friends know if they ride. Also, if you're shopping for motorcycle gear, especially in the colder months, or the sales coming up, we are Revzilla affiliates, and the link is in the podcast descriptions below. So if you want to support the channel and are also shopping for motorcycle gear, feel free, like winter gear. Or maybe you want to pick up some summer clearance items.
Oh, yeah.
Feel free to use our link and help us out with that. But anyways, let's jump into our main topic.
Let's do it.
And that is cold weather riding.
Yeah, so unfortunately, fall is here.
Yeah, for you. Oh, snowboarding's coming up, baby. I'm excited. Let's go.
Well, we're not doing a snowboarding podcast club.
Yeah, maybe I'll just start my own snowboarding podcast. No, just kidding. I don't have enough energy for that.
Yeah, right.
Let me pull up your notes here real quick.
Yeah,
you're more prepared this week than I am.
I did what I could, but no,
you
just started a new job. So
appreciate it.
No sweat there.
You also moved, so hey, have you mentioned that you moved on this podcast?
No. By the way,
yeah. Have you also
cold weather time?
Have you mentioned that I also got a new job?
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, today we're going to be talking about cold weather in terms of like the gear that we use or what we recommend. Things to kind of get your bike winterized.
Yeah. From there,
so I'd say just first and foremost, I didn't type it in here with this first item, but would be fuel and oil.
Actually, before we continue, can we just split this up in two? So let's go with cold weather riding and then cold weather or like winter storage.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So let's start with winter storage since you're already talking about the fuel tank.
Yeah. So, ethanol can break down the inside of a gas tank.
Yeah. Because it's pretty much like water. Not really water.
Well, it'll rust it. Yeah. It'll rust the inside of your tank. It's not good for your fuel line. I'm sure there's some mechanics who know way more about that than me.
Yeah.
But it is just like one of those like quality of life things for your bike.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to be riding for a long time, you want to have a full tank of gas so that there's no space in there for water and condensation to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. It's like not the ethanol, but the condensation and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure how it works. I didn't have time to like really look into it.
Yeah.
How the chemistry it works, but when there's a lot of ethanol trapped in the space, like it can create condensation in water, causing, if it's inside of a metal gas tank.
Yeah. Like rust and stuff like
rust
that.
and everything. And the fuel also breaks down.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea if you're going to be storing it, keep a full tank of gas in there. So there's no moisture pocket, or there's no way for pockets of air for moisture to build.
Yeah.
So you can use like either ethanol free gas. I've done that.
That's what I personally do as well.
Yeah.
Or
I've also gotten the fuel cleaner. What's it called?
Stabilizer.
Fuel stabilizer. Yeah. Stabilized fuel.
That's what I use as well.
Yeah. So I have like a gas tank, like in my shed.
Yeah.
And like, so I'll mix in that. And so I have like a full thing of stabilized gas.
Yep.
That's what I'll run off for the year or for the winter season.
That's what I do. And basically if I do manage to find like a day to go out and ride, and sometimes I will, like if it's sunny and like slightly warm,
I'll do that.
Very much bundle up and go on a quick ride just around the block.
Yep.
But if I need to fill the tank up or top it off and stuff, I make sure to put like a couple of drops of that stabilizer in.
I just keep like a 3-gallon.
Oh, really?
Or I guess it's like 2 or 3 gallon of a gas tank that I have stabilized fuel in.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just fill it up when I get home.
That's way more practical than what I do.
That's going to be a good thing for your bike in terms of the fuel line, fuel tank, all that good stuff. So it's pretty straightforward with that.
Yeah, fuel and sorry.
I was just gonna throw in with oil. I am in the camp. I have no scientific backing for this whatsoever, but I'm in the camp, if it lines up at all with my mileage and service intervals, to store it with clean oil.
Yeah.
So it's not just sitting with that old dirty oil for however long until I can ride on a day or something, Because the worst thing, it's like with an airplane, right? If an airplane's like,
sure. We all know about airplanes, right?
Well, it's like, the worst thing for an aircraft is to be sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
It needs to be flying because once it's sitting there, everything's just going to be breaking down.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with a vehicle, like a car or motorcycle. If that engine isn't being used, everything is just dropping down. All the lubricants and fluids they're lowering. They're settling. Yeah. And so you can get a lot of internal breakdown if it's for too long.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard that too, like replace your fuel before you store and stuff like that. I personally haven't done it. I just, because I do take my bike out and stuff throughout the winter, because sometimes we'll have a break here and there.
Yeah.
Depending on the year. Last year was way rougher.
Last year sucked.
Not for me.
Yeah.
But I do change the oil. Like most motorcycle manufacturers, they recommend you change your oil like every year or however many miles, whichever comes first. So I do change mine every year, especially on the Triumph now. I think those engines are a little more delicate than the Honda engine, which I think will just run off vegetable oil if I had to. So I try to change mine every year, and to save money, I just do it myself, which I think on most motorcycles, it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, I'm going to be changing my own oil from now on after my last service there, but it is nice, if you can, it is nice just having to save yourself the time and hassle, and if you to have mechanics do it, but at the same time it is a pretty simple job. So
that's the other bit.
So oil and fuel,
and then next let me talk about the tires and the battery tender. And basically, if you're planning on storing it and stuff, we both have center stands in our bikes. It's kind of nice because we can prop the rear wheel off the ground. But what I also do is, mine's parked in the garage, but it's a cold cement floor. The garage is not heated or anything. I put a piece of pretty thick cardboard underneath the front wheel, and that's basically just to kind of prevent flat spots on the tire, or so kind of because with the cold air, your tire pressure is going to go down, and if it goes too low, you can kind of have a more kind of an uneven spot on the tire and stuff, and this kind of just helps keep it round so it doesn't freeze to the ground or just gets, I don't know, just kind of it's just good for the tire.
Well, it's just cold, like with any substance or surface, if it's cold, everything, molecules are just going to condense. And, so you can, with all that weight pushing down, I'm sure I can see how it's plausible. What's interesting is I have seen that on motorcycle threads and subreddits before. Is I didn't think something so trivial would be so combative, but there are camps of cardboard or some type of surface, right? Or oh no, it doesn't do anything. You need to have both tires off the ground. You know, yeah, it's like, I guess some people feel passionately about tires, but, you know, good.
I put my back tires already off the ground, so that's fine. But I put a thick piece of cardboard underneath my front one.
Personally, I'm too lazy, so I've never done the cardboard on the front wheel.
But has it had flat spots or anything?
It has not.
Okay. Well, maybe it just doesn't get cold enough in Utah for that. At least not in the valley.
Yeah.
We did have really cold days last year, though.
Yeah,
do you remember that, like, 1 week where it was like in the 20s and that was as high as it got?
That was the worst.
It was so cold.
Oh, and speaking of cold, actually, that's another good point. Before we get to battery, the seat.
Oh, right.
And you've seen me. I take my seat inside in the colder months.
Even though mine's in the garage, I do as well.
Yeah.
Just because that, depending on the kind of seat you have, most seats just have like the foam, just like sponge foam inside, and that cold is really bad for that. It can become really
just becomes brittle.
Plastic in general.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, most seats are, unless you have a really fancy bike with like a leather seat,
custom.
like a custom leather seat, which you probably also want to bring inside. But most bike seats, they're made out of like vinyl and stuff, especially like, I don't know, is your bike leather?
I think it's pleather.
Okay. So it's still like synthetic and stuff.
Yeah.
Plastic breaks down in the cold, becomes much more brittle, and that foam inside is also made out of plastic. So if possible, I think it's good. It's a good plan to take the seat off the bike and then bring it inside so it doesn't like break down. And you use a bike cover too, right?
Yeah, and I just think it's good just for like kind of just keeping it away from most of the elements.
Yeah,
you know, including cats who like to jump up on things. So you know. Like my bike has had paw prints on it before, you know, but so I think it's just like a good little extra bit of protection for it.
Let me ask you this. Since I park mine in the garage, I never use the cover, but have you had any issues like condensation and stuff under the cover in the winter?
Not that I can think of actually, because one, I can speak to our climate because it's so dry here, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
You know?
And yours is parked in the carport, so you don't get like direct sunlight on it where things underneath can like melt and evaporate. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's tucked away. It's not just a carport, right? It's like up against a wall in the shed there, you know, so that it's out of the way.
That's true.
You know, and so I know like a lot of this, if you're an experienced rider, a lot of this probably makes sense. You probably even have better ideas than we do.
Oh yeah. And if you do, shoot us an email at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com.
Put it up on some comments so everyone can see it too.
Yeah, share us with us your cold weather storage advice and stuff, or you know, feel free to argue us. I don't care.
Yeah. And before we get into batteries, one thing that I'm pretty bad at, which I'm still trying to be better at, just remembering, it's a little thing just to purchase, is pipe plugs.
Oh yeah, I've never used that.
I haven't, but you know, like
I should probably buy some for when I wash the bike too.
Yeah.
The off chance that I wash my bike.
Yeah. Well, like it's you know, for winter storage too, especially if it's going in somewhere, you know, like you just never know with rodents or pests. You know, like they're going to be looking for any sort of protection, especially if you've ridden your bike. You know, it's not unheard of that like a mouse has crawled into someone's pipes and got all jammed up and screwed up their engine. You know.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so it's
I'm gonna get some pipe plugs now.
Yeah. Well, then too, like again,
some
if you
butt plugs.
Yeah. Well, and if you've ridden before, you know, like if you go out on a cold day and you ride around, you have heat in those pipes, and if things start to settle, if it's like still cold out, you're creating chances for evaporation, condensation. You know, so it's just good to like kind of keep those plugged up from what I hear.
Okay.
Again, I have been really bad about it. I haven't done it.
I've never used one.
Yeah.
But I heard about them for like, if you wash your bike, you should plug it up. So
yeah,
but I don't know. I feel like this is just my personal take, like do whatever you want and stuff. I've never, even when washing my bike, I just kind of avoid directly like spraying water into it. But I'm like, if water gets in there, it's probably just going to like,
well, for me, like I'll ride
the bike on.
Yeah. Well, and I'll ride my bike to a car wash. Yeah. You know, and just spray it down with the water.
Because I'm like, it's been rained on before. When we did our Colorado ride, remember we woke up in the morning, it was like ice on our seats and stuff.
Well, like, and your bike too, right? Like you have like yours is kind of inverted.
Yeah.
You know, or it's at an angle.
Yeah.
You know, when mine's straight.
Oh yeah, yours would be much easier because the water doesn't have anywhere to like.
Well, because I go to like a car wash to spray it down. Yeah. It's usually warm, and so like even when I'm just spraying it down, I'll see steam come off. You know, just because
that makes sense.
Even though it's only like a block away.
Yeah.
It's still enough time to like get this. You know, so I'm not super worried about it, but.
it's something to consider if that's something you're concerned about. But I never thought about the rodents like potentially getting in there. That's a very valid point. Yeah. So. No, I can definitely see that because that just makes sense. Yeah. And then we have the battery tender. So
if you want to,
if you
you got two options as I see it.
So if you don't, or if you're new to riding, if you're experienced, you probably already know all this, but your battery needs to be like, it depletes over time, especially if it's like a lithium battery and stuff, but pretty much any battery, it'll slowly kind of deplete over time if it's not being charged and
cold
used.
Can affect that.
And the cold can definitely affect that. The cold makes it deplete way faster and it kind of breaks down the chemicals inside much quicker. So you have two options. You have a battery tender, which is basically a little thing you plug into the wall and then you plug one end into the battery.
And it cycles the battery.
It just basically keeps it topped off, keeps it in like an optimal range and stuff like that. So it's a good idea. Basically, even if it's not cold weather, but if you're not planning on riding your bike for a long time, it's a good idea to have that plugged in just so the battery doesn't die, because then you have to jump it or find, like, it's going to be a hassle to start it back up. And then the second option is taking the battery inside, just completely unhooking it from the motorcycle and taking it inside and
still using a battery tender.
That's just
keeping it out of the weather.
So. If you can't park it in the garage or can't keep it out of the elements and stuff like that, that's something very good to consider. And putting it inside.
Oh, another thing, like with back to the cover too, is like I didn't think about, because I have like overhead coverage for mine. If you don't have that kind of coverage, you would want to cover to protect your electronics and your seals and everything. Just keeping it out of the elements as best as you can.
Even if it's just a tarp or just your regular motorcycle cover, that if you don't have a carport or something to park it under, it just helps to keep it out of the elements, especially if you live somewhere. Garage. Especially if you live somewhere in like a snowy climate and stuff like that. Like I'm pretty sure leaving it in the snowstorm is not going to be good for the bike.
No, I wouldn't.
But if you can do something to prevent that, it's definitely a way to go. But I also understand that not everyone has that privilege or can do it.
Just a random thought. Would you rather have to store your bike uncovered for 2 weeks with no battery tender? It's just sitting out there exposed to the elements in winter, right, for 2 weeks, or you have to ride 2 days in a winter storm?
Oh, damn! I did not expect to be answering something like a hardball question like this. Damn, you can't throw that at me after work.
I can throw it after like a beer and some rum.
Honestly, I say like 2 weeks exposed to the elements.
Really?
Because I think riding through a snowstorm would be way more dangerous.
Oh, and we've done it. So, well, light
snow. Yeah, it wasn't like a full on blizzard. It wasn't winter.
Oh yeah, no. So let me clarify that. So it's just like kind of like what we did from Colorado.
Oh yeah,
but it's 2 days of that or 2 weeks.
Easy. 2 days of that, easy.
Okay.
I'm a cold person. I can handle the cold.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm totally fine with that.
And you have fairings.
If it was weather that we rode through back from Colorado, easy. I can handle 2 days of that versus having my bike be sitting exposed to the elements for 2 weeks.
What about a week? Week of sitting.
Okay. I still take the 2 days. If it was like a week of riding, obviously I'd pick sitting.
I would too, actually. I love my bike too much.
I can handle the 2 days of riding in bad weather. We've done it. We've done it in Colorado. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a full-on blizzard, but it was. We have a whole episode about the ride a few episodes back if you want to listen to it. But we just kind of ended up in a pretty much a light snow shower or so. It wasn't sticking to the road, but it was.
Luckily, it was very wet.
It was very wet snow, and this is the reason we weren't really prepped for it, because it was the end of May.
Yeah, we're entering June.
Yeah, because the day before that it was like 70 degrees.
Yeah,
and then the day after was like 50 and snowing. I'm like, okay, really?
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say, I think that's a good segue into talking about cold weather riding.
I think so.
Before we do that though, another note I made in here is there's inside versus outside. It's like if you have a garage or a shed,
definitely park it in there.
Yeah, I mean 100%. Bikes being inside during those non-use months, right? Yeah. They're always gonna fare better inside. protected, in some way. So yeah, like, but if you can't do that, these are kind of like the things that you can do to set yourself up for success. Like, I don't have access to a garage or like a shed that can fit a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really not like you have a choice unless you're willing to pay for some storage unit.
Yeah, sometimes we don't have an option, and I'm just gotta do the best I can. I'm privileged enough that I can park mine in a garage, so that's what I do.
Well, and even though like I'm at this new place, like I have a carport, but it's not as well protected as my other one.
Yeah,
but I'm still very lucky that I can, for the winter, I can go keep my bike at the old place.
No, that makes sense.
So,
cold weather riding.
Yeah, I think do you
want to go?
You go for it.
Yep. Okay. Cold weather riding. It's not something we do often, but we do sometimes, whether it's intentional or not. As with the Colorado ride, it was not, and it was fucking cold.
It was very cold.
Especially on the ride back. We basically got down. That's not quite winter temperatures, but it was like, 43 degrees Fahrenheit.
But that was before wind chill.
American friends. Yeah, that was before wind chill. The wind chill probably brought it down to like definitely somewhere in the mid 30s or lower.
Oh, it was miserable.
Going to like 50 miles an hour, 55
on average.
Yeah. And I was poorly prepped because it was at the end of May, and I was not prepped I did not expect to get that cold.
See, we weren't prepped in opposite ways, right? Because you didn't pack your winter gloves.
Yeah.
And I didn't have like any sort of like thermal lining for my pants.
Oh, right. That's true.
I had to wear like the internal layer for one set of riding pants on the outside of the pants I was wearing.
I do remember that.
Remember, I looked like a leather daddy. Cause just like
I did not have my winter gloves because I did not expect it to drop that, or my cold weather gloves, because I did not expect it to drop that low at the end of May.
Well, to be honest, I didn't either. I only packed those because I know I'm a wimp with cold.
And honestly, good. Yeah, that's good, because now I'm gonna, every time we do a long trip, whether it's in the middle of summer or not, I'm gonna pack the winter gloves, the cold gloves, just in case, because they're also waterproof. So if it starts pouring on us, it's kind of nice to have my hands dry. But also, because on our ride to Colorado, it was like, in that same area, it was like 80 degrees.
It was warm. Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot. And then on the way back, it was like
winter.
It was winter temperatures. And I remember my hands were like, luckily I have pretty good hand guards and heated grips. So that helped a lot. And I really tightened down my
I remember
sleeves.
We stopped at the gas station, and I even asked you, I was like, should we get you some grocery bags that you can throw over your hands?
I literally thought of that stuff. Luckily, I just held my hands over the engine to warm them up and stuff. But
even in my winter gloves, I had to. I don't know how you were really faring, because my pinkies were getting numb, and
it was
with the heated grips.
It was a cold ride, and if you're touring, or if you're planning, whether you're touring in the warm months or not, bring a pair of either at least waterproof and windproof gloves.
You got to be ready for everything.
Yeah, you basically have to be ready for everything. But beyond that, so I'll just talk about what I wore on that ride and what I wear if I take a quick ride in the winter and cold weather.
Yeah.
Basically, layering is your best friend. This is coming from someone who also snowboards and snowshoes and stuff in the winter. It is something that...
and you like winter.
And I do like winter because I'm Russian. We were born in it. I just kidding. I was born in July. But layering is your friend. You want to be able to... The key is basically not sweat. Yeah. And if you're riding, it's a little easier to do than if you're super physically active and stuff. But you want to be to the point where you're comfortably warm, but you're not sweating if it's sunny or if you're moving around and stuff like that, because that's what gives you that chill, that chilly feeling, is the sweat. So base layer, I like to roll with something either merino wool or synthetic, something moisture wicking, so it wicks moisture away from your skin, keeps you dry. On top of that, depending on the thickness of the base layer and stuff like that, either a sweater or something decently thick, or I just might wear a long sleeve thermal and go straight to a puffy jacket, puffy down jacket, and then my touring jacket with the windproof and waterproof liner in it, because as long as you're keeping the wind off your body, keeps the temperature in. But layering is basically your best friend. Kind of figure out, I think my best advice for at least the top body is just figuring out what like
what's your own thermal exchange.
Yeah, what temperature you're comfortable in and with, and basically just keeping it that way. And also have the ability to like shed a layer and stuff, put it away if you need to, if you're getting too warm. But with the wind chill, usually that's not much of a problem.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if you remember, but like for our Colorado ride, you know, I had because I'll be honest, I hate that thermal layer for the Sand 3 jackets.
Oh yeah, I'm
it's
not
like
a fan
it's like
either.
a crop top thermal.
Yeah, it's very weird.
It's every episode, man. I try not to, but no, we so I didn't bring that.
Yeah,
because it's just I hate it.
It's not the best.
But I was just wearing like a thin sweater as my base, and then I had like a waffle top over that, and then a hoodie.
Yeah,
because the wind was getting us.
Yeah, and I think I just had I had like a sweater on, and then my windproof, and that was kind of enough.
The windproof, I think, is what saved me.
Yeah, that was kind of enough for me because I'm pretty like cold tolerant.
Yeah,
I'm pretty good with the cold, but usually if I go out on like a ride in the winter and stuff where it's like cold, I will wear like just a puffy jacket underneath because I also don't like the sand one that much. I don't think it's even that warm, really.
It's really not, honestly. So,
but yeah, that's what I do, and then I also wear a gaiter, like a neck gaiter, and it's kind of silly like putting my helmet on because I have to like put it all the way up to like my forehead. So by the time I put my helmet on, it like slides down to my nose. And that's just basically like enough to keep my face warm and keeps the cold air from like rushing into your
As much as I hate winter and cold weather, I'm excited to try that new gaiter that Tesla got me.
Yeah,
the Triumph one because it's thick, man.
Yeah,
like it's gonna be nice.
Yeah,
and honestly, those gaiters they make such a difference.
Yeah,
it just traps so much heat in for you.
Yeah, basically you don't want like your. I think the key point is I'm trying to make here is like you don't want your skin to be exposed to the wind and stuff,
or just have your jacket have
if it's
to escape.
And then for like gloves, I think this is more of a personal preference, but I prefer gauntlet gloves that go over your sleeve instead of your sleeve going over the gloves, because then it kind of keeps the wind from going up your sleeve, because it kind of just
realized
around the top of it.
That should have been something I included in here. So not just like the gauntlet thing, but glove thickness.
Oh yeah,
because so if you have heated grips on your bike, too thick of gloves, you're not going to get the benefit.
That is true
of that, which is the problem I have with my current winter gloves. But we were in that weird point, right? Like, so my summer gloves in no way were going to be enough to keep my hands warm. And my hands were still cold, and after like maybe like 30 minutes to an hour of riding, then I would finally start to feel the heat come through.
Yeah.
But then my hands started to sweat.
Yeah.
so I think like you want some good like winter or cold weather gloves, but if you have heated grips, you need to take that in consideration.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For heat transfer and making sure like that, you're not going to have like wet hands.
Yeah, definitely. Like moisture is your enemy basically when it's cold. You don't want to be sweating. You want to be warm.
Yeah.
But yeah, gloves I think was more of a personal preference. Some people I think prefer like having the sleeves over the gloves and stuff.
Yeah.
I like the gauntlets because it keeps the wind from going up my sleeves. I think part of it kind of depends on your bike and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a good point is if you have a faired bike like the one I have, dealing with the cold is much easier because it keeps the wind off a lot of your body versus like if you were riding a naked bike.
I wouldn't know. Riding the scrambler.
Yeah. Well, when I took out our friend's street twin.
Oh yeah.
We rode up a canyon, and this was also in May, and we rode up the canyon, but after the sun went down, it dropped down to like the low 50s and stuff. I was like, oh, this is cold. And I was also wearing my mesh jacket too, so that didn't help.
Well, I was too, but I still had like my little windscreen.
I didn't have anything.
You were like, "Oh, house is cold." Like, ladies and gentlemen,
this is
Gleb, welcome.
Yep,
welcome to my world.
Exactly. So yeah, I think I made
that joke in the last episode, but
probably. But yeah, on a fully faired bike, like it's much easier dealing with the wind and stuff because it keeps a lot of it off you. And then for pants, base layer, definitely you want to be wearing some thermals and stuff depending on where you're riding and your cold tolerance, like thicker or thinner. I actually have these really nice like fleece like almost sweats and stuff like that that I use for snowboarding under my bibs because my bibs are not insulated, but I'll probably wear those on like a long ride or bring those on a long ride next time because they're almost like skin tight and stuff. So but they're pretty thick and they're very good at keeping the keeping the heat in.
Yeah, I have some thermals, or they're not like waffle top thermals, they're just like generic or like silky ones that you pull over, and they're skin tight. And they've served me well in the winter.
Yeah, and the same thing like I mentioned before, like polyester or merino wool. Do not wear cotton.
Yeah,
cotton does not. I mean, it keeps the heat okay, but it absorbs moisture, and if you start sweating, that it does not shed the water or evaporate really quick from.
So that's why I had those little base layers before. But that brings me to one point too, though. Since we're talking about gear, what we wear, or everything, right? We also have you have the issue of bulkiness. Because that can really hinder your comfort on the bike in terms of like manipulating your controls.
Exactly.
And, so it can be. So you got to find your right balance. There's really we really can't tell anybody like what works, because what works for you doesn't work for me, and vice versa.
Like I think the more like generic advice I can give to someone is if you live in a cold weather environment and you want, or if you want to ride in like a cold weather environment, or if you're like touring and stuff or wanted to try that, when shopping for gear that you can like layer, size up.
For the outers,
for the outer, for like your touring jacket and stuff, size up so you can layer like your regular clothes underneath and stuff. That's my problem that I have currently with the sand. Like I've gotten a little thicker around the edges. Around the edges over the last couple of years, and my current like touring jacket has become a little too tight, like layering up and stuff. So I was like, okay, now I know like my next one's going to be a size up, because you can always, most jackets have ways to cinch them down and bring them closer to the body. And mine's like mostly.
Well, that's one thing with my sand, right? Is like, so I did size up. You remember, like the sleeves hang down to like here on me, but so it's like, so if I'm just wearing the sand and like a t-shirt or something, like it can feel really baggy. But then when we were doing those trips, or when we ride on the colder days, it fits like a dream.
Perfect. So and I think that's exactly, because it's easier to cinch it down than
and where I knew the sand wasn't going to be like my main riding jacket. That's my touring jacket. That's what I'll take if we're going to the mountains for like a day or something. So it's
that makes sense.
So having it sized up worked for me. And then I cinch it down as best as I can. I think that's if I have to just do a t-shirt.
I think that's a better way to go too, because I mean the Sand is a great touring jacket and stuff. It's
awesome.
It's got big vents for warm weather and stuff like that, and it's super durable. It's a very durable.
Because we have the 3s, both of us, and like even the upgrade to the Sand 4 has is it a clip? Is it like a snap, or is it a magnet that holds it open? Like the vents open now.
I think that plus they also have like a double zipper.
Oh yeah.
So like the middle section, like along the zipper,
is
also like one massive vent, which is kind of nice. But underneath that, like wind is your enemy basically. So even when we're riding in the summer and stuff like that, if it looks like it might rain or so, it might be a little chilly, like once the sun goes down, if I'm wearing like my mesh jacket, I bring just a regular old, like I have this older like Eddie Bauer windbreaker I just bring with me. It's kind of oversized, so I can wear it over my riding jacket and just zip it up, and keeps the wind off me and kind of keeps the heat trapped and stuff. And it helps a lot if you don't have access to like a full, or if you like can't pay, or if you can't like afford like a full like expensive touring jacket and stuff. I think just like your basic windbreaker from,
who could think that people couldn't spend like $1,500 on a Climb touring
jacket?
Right? Like,
Climb.
I could never imagine spending that kind of money on a
Climb.
Piece of gear.
Sponsor us. Just kidding.
It's very nice stuff. But
like motorcycle gear is expensive and stuff. So like if you have like an old windbreaker lying around, like bring that with you. They pack up really small, throw that over if you're feeling cold, because not only is the cold like sucky to be in, but it also can, like once you get too cold, it lowers your reaction time, it lowers your ability to think, plus there's also the risk of like hypothermia and frostbite and stuff like that, and you don't want to add to that while also trying to be on a motorcycle, because motorcycling is already like risky enough, and you don't want to add to that additional risk and compromise yourself.
And to turn it into like a balancing game, right, is at the same time as like all those things are true, but you also need to consider, again, going back to the bulk and how well you can manipulate everything.
That too.
Because like what good is it for your if your hands are warm and you have perfect reaction time, but you can't move your fingers over your clutch or your brake?
That's a very good point as well. So it's kind of a balancing game. If you have like a store near you where you can go try on the gear and stuff, try on the gloves, manipulate your bike controls outside if you can.
Yeah.
See how it feels. You don't want things to be too tight. You don't want things to be too loose, basically. And especially in the cold, you don't want things to be like super, super big and loose, because then that also causes heat to escape much easier.
Yeah.
So you want them to be like, it's basically like a balancing act. It can be tricky, but once you find the right gear, like stick to it. Oh, I just remembered, for helmets, pin lock.
Yes.
Pin lock. If you're new and you're unfamiliar with pin lock, it's basically like most helmets have it. Not all come with it included in the box.
Yeah.
But a lot of helmets, at least the ones sold here in the US, they come with a pin lock visor. And if you ever see a motorcycle helmet, it's got like 2 little dots on each side of the screen, the visor in the front. Those are basically your pin
call
locks.
them eye nipples.
Eye nipples. But what that does is basically a pin lock is like a very thin layer of glass with like a silicon seal around it.
Is it glass?
Or sorry, plastic.
Okay, I was gonna say, wait, I could like,
yeah, like
yeah,
like that polycarbonate, like whatever the plastic visors are made of. It's a kind of a similar material.
Yeah.
But basically, what you do is you put it onto your helmet visor, and it kind of creates this double layer of glass in between your main visor and the pin lock, so moisture doesn't get in there. So it basically keeps it does a really good job of helping prevent.
Oh, it's night and day.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone out before thinking like this is mostly like when I was a brand new rider, and it's like I'm riding hell or high water,
Yeah.
So riding in the winter, like I would even ride to work on my little Rebel.
Yeah.
In like negative whatever in January.
Yeah.
And even with a pin lock, you can see like the moisture like forming around like the
the edges. Yeah, I get that on my
show
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But that pin lock is just, it's pristine.
Yeah.
I
sometimes on my show weight, if it gets cold enough, or if I'm like breathing a little harder and stuff, it does start to like condense even on the pin lock down the middle. But without the pin lock, like I wouldn't be able to see it at all.
Yeah.
So it does a wonderful job of keeping the moisture away. So if you are riding in cold weather, I think that's pretty much a must.
Oh,
a
yeah.
must have.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think like my bottom line, since we can't give like any like solid like, oh, this is what you need, right?
Yeah.
Is like figure out bulk, and then like just keeping yourself protected from the elements, wind, wet.
Yep. Wind is your enemy.
Yeah.
Moisture is your enemy. Everything else.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Once the wind hits, if you get wet, if the wind hits, that's you're gonna get cold. Even in the summer months. Like you will get cold
at altitude, and Oh, well,
so keep yourself dry and keep yourself out of the wind.
We rode 2 weeks ago, and it was cold coming out of that mountain.
Stuck in traffic. Yeah, we got stuck in traffic. Like, luckily that kind of worked in our favor
because we didn't have the wind chill.
Yeah, because we didn't have the wind chill, we could feel our engine
kept us warm,
keeping us warm. But it was still cold once we started moving.
Yeah,
and once again, it was one of those situations where we didn't expect it to get that chilly like so quick.
Well, and
after the sun.
Yeah, so basically, it's just that like we've gone over a few things of like what we do, what's worked for us.
We didn't talk about boots.
Not yet.
Yeah,
boots are important. Waterproof, windproof.
Basically, like everything else.
Don't wear your summer riding shoes, I guess.
So. In the winter.
I know not everybody wears like motorcycle footwear.
Yeah.
So just as long as you're wearing something that's not going to be like turning your toes blue.
Yeah. And also for your legs, what I forgot to suggest is I personally just have, my pants aren't waterproof. They're like water resistant, but not really waterproof. Is I bought like a cheap pair of just like rain pants.
Oh yeah,
from Cycle Gear, so I can literally slip them on without taking my boots off and stuff. They're just elastic; they look like old man pants, but
and honestly,
they work, and that's what matters.
Exactly. Well, and honestly, like having had like a pair of motorcycle pants, that have like the internal windproof, waterproof layer.
Yeah,
I'm much more of a fan of the outer.
Oh, 100%.
Because you get too hot, you're gonna have to pull over and strip down and get that liner out.
Exactly. But if you can just put it over your pants, it's much easier.
Yeah.
And even if you don't want to like go to a motorcycle store, if you don't have one, like go to your local like outdoor retailer and stuff like that. You can get a pair of waterproof pants from.
That's what my dad does. He doesn't bought like any motorcycle specific rain gear. He just has like some typical like rain pants.
Yeah, that's basically what I have.
Yeah,
too, and like the same thing goes for like a windbreaker or wind jacket.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Back on boots, so one thing that's nice, like we know with our adventure boots, where you get that protection up high.
Yeah.
That can help too.
That helps a lot, and also wool socks. Mm-hmm. Thick wool socks. Wool is great at not absorbing moisture and kind of wicking it from your skin.
Yeah.
So it helps a lot with, even in the summer when I wear my riding boots, I still wear.
I just wear summer wool. Yeah.
Like thin wool socks and stuff because it just keeps your feet from sweating. So I think those work really well.
Yeah.
And then also, anything else on the boots?
Not on boots. I was going to get more into like the road conditions here in a minute.
Oh yeah.
Do you have anything else on gear?
I was just going to suggest if you do live in the cold climate and you can afford heated grips.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you kind of think
buy once, cry once.
Like I won't need them. Or you can get heated gloves too. Or heated gear in general, which we didn't actually mention, but you can get heated jackets. You can get heated gloves and things like that. But I think that one of the drawbacks to that is one, you either have to have them plugged into your bike. So if you have to have like a way to do that,
or charge
and
them.
Not all bikes have a socket, or you have to charge them. And if you run out of charge or like forget to, then you're kind of SOL.
Yeah.
But with heated grips, they're always there. Mm-hmm. So they're always on the bike, and they do great in like emergencies, or even in the summer. They kind of, I noticed like the side effect of them is they kind of help relax your muscles a little bit if you've been riding for a while.
So I keep hitting this mic, but so I know quite a few people who ride with like heated gear. They just have like a battery internal that they can run it, or they can plug it into their bike. They swear by it. They love it. That's great. But I have a heated riding jacket. The battery sold separately. That's probably the number one obstacle for me not wearing it in the winter. But I was just like, I don't know. It was just a lot. I really can't explain it. So, like if it's going to work for you, I know people who they swear by it. Me personally, I'm just like, I just don't really want to like have to charge another thing and carry it with me.
Yeah. It's kind of a very personal preference type deal.
Yeah. So again, like buyer beware in terms of like, if you want to do it and you're going to use it, good. For me, I spent like $200 on a jacket and haven't used it. I've never used it. Like I rode it around. I wore it, but I never bought like the heated pack, like the battery.
Yeah.
Because it was like $70. So it's like, I'm good.
Road conditions.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing we can. So there's obvious road conditions, right? We got salt and water. And
salt and water, and then if it gets too cold, potential icing. And roads.
I totally mixed that up. I was gonna salt was the giveaway. I think I haven't seen any like wear and tear on my bike from salt, but
I haven't either. But also don't take it out like after a snowstorm when the roads are at their
basically
saltiest.
It was a long way around the barn of just saying like, if you're gonna, it's like, oh wow, it's a nice day out on this fine winter day. It's like, I can go ride. Look for like that white residue. Look for salt stacks, because that stuff's not good for your bike.
No, it's gonna corrode through the metal, even though it's supposed to be like less corrosive nowadays. But I don't trust it.
I don't either. So like,
bikes are more delicate than cars. So
no, I was,
especially if you ride a Ducati. Just kidding. For Ducati,
we just got on their good side.
Yep. Oh damn it. Just kidding. No, they're fine bikes, but no salt is good. Like for generally bike. Good for your bike. Yeah.
It's like an off topic with that. Like I thought it would be so cool to go out sometime and like take some pictures like on the salt flats with our bikes.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Like I might still do it, but your bike is way more pain in the ass to clean than mine.
That's true.
Because you have like the air fins and things like that on your engine. Mine is more just like straightforward.
Yeah.
But I could see it because my radiator is right up front there. Like it's gonna get stuff.
Yeah. Well, mine's right up front too, right behind the tire. And
yeah. Like I definitely wouldn't want to risk like getting salt back there. It's gonna be a pain in the ass to clean out.
Yeah. I love riding motorcycles. I do not like any sort of mechanical work. I hate doing that on cars.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan either.
I'll do an oil change and clean my chain, but I don't like anything else.
Pretty much. That's how I feel about it too. If it's something I can do myself, I'll try just to save money. But for the most part, if it's something more complicated, I'm just gonna take it in.
Yeah. So
I don't want to deal with it.
So that was the biggest thing I just wanted to get around to say with that was that just
I think the other big thing with road conditions is if it gets cold enough, be aware of black ice.
Yep.
Very dangerous, car or bike. Also keep in mind that bridges ice up before roads do. So that's kind of like be a little bit
over
more
or under here.
Yeah.
Be careful.
So like be careful, like be more cautious and be more aware of on the bridge. Look for any like too shiny of patches of road and stuff on the bike. In fact, just last weekend, I took my bike up one of the canyons here.
Oh, yeah.
And I pulled into a parking area and it was just iced over. I didn't realize it because it looked black. Like it looked like there was like mud or snow on it, but I didn't realize. I was like, oh shit, this is frozen.
Yeah.
Like this is actual frozen stuff. And I was like, okay, the bike is like handling it okay, but I could not put my feet down to like hold the bike up because I could feel my foot just slipping in.
Yeah.
Slipping. I managed to like park it to get some pictures of it and stuff, but it was like, I was like, yeah, I would not want to ride on a surface like this.
Yeah.
That would be like, I would not be able to turn.
One thing to consider too, right? So if the bike, if the bike is moving forward, you have that centrifugal force to keep you upright.
Yeah.
Physics is working in your favor. And with our bikes, they're pretty, they're pretty high end.
Yeah.
They do have computers in them, like the IMU and everything in there. So like if you're moving at speed, the bike's computers can actually make small corrections to keep them more upright.
Yeah.
You don't want to rely on that, but those are kind of nice things if you have like a
it's like a little safety net.
A little safety net, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not gonna like keep you from crashing if you already lean too far
like,
and you hit a patch of black ice.
Yeah. Well, where I was going with that was back when I had my Rebel. Oh, jeez, this mic. Sorry, everybody. When I had my Rebel, I was riding that in the winter. Yeah. And the same thing, I was like pulling into like a parking lot, pure ice everywhere. And I was like, oh crap, So like, but like what I had to do to like kind of keep myself upright, because I was new, I didn't know what I was doing. I was going like way too slow. I had way too much input on the handlebars, and instead of putting my foot down to catch myself, I just had to like stomp/kick the ground. Yeah, to like get myself back up and then like speed up. It was scary.
It's not a fun situation to be in.
No.
Like, yeah, if the roads are obviously icy, probably don't ride. That's the best advice. Yeah. But if you have to, like, you just keep an eye out on the road, and if it gets to the point where it's like dropping below freezing and stuff like that, and if you are far from home, if you need to ride, I think it's one of those situations where you may have to make a call and just like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here for the night, because like, it is physically like it's literally too dangerous to ride. Yeah, like your self first comes first, like your safety comes first.
The risks outweigh like any sort of positive you'd have to get home that day.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that risk is worth losing your bike, but more importantly your life or your health over and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, basically keep an eye on road conditions, keep an eye on temperature. I would say check the weather, but half the time the weather is like, it's not right.
I know, right? Like not Google. Like the weather app's been not super reliable.
And weather is like unpredictable in general and stuff like that. But I also think like just as to kind of like more wrap up here and stuff. Yeah. Just common sense, I think makes sense. If you see dark clouds in the horizon, if the temperature feels like it's dropping, obviously like you can kind of deduct what you need to do from that. Like, oh, okay. Like we're lucky enough that our bikes have a temperature gauge on them, so we can kind of.
Yours does, mine doesn't.
Yours doesn't?
Nope.
Oh, I thought it did. Nope. My bike has a temperature gauge on it, and it even tells me when it's too cold or when there's potential icing. It pops up a little snowflake icon.
Sounds like it's made for snowflakes. You need a bike to tell them
that. It's a little baby bike. It's got traction control and ABS.
I mean, I have all that too. So, but it doesn't tell me when it's too cold.
I think it needs to. You hate the cold.
I think my bike just trusts me to know. It just treats me like an adult.
That's why you complain about the cold.
Yeah. That's why I whine and cry about the cold.
But yeah, mine will like show me the temperature. But if like, I don't think most bikes, a lot of bikes do that. But like, check it on your phone, check it like wherever you can and stuff like that. And if you're like, oh, that's dropping really quick, or that's that's going to be a problem, or you see some like looming clouds in the horizon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're talking about cold weather and winter riding and things like that, or but also like rain. Even a summer storm can be really, really cold.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I've been
Like,
caught in a lot of those actual summer rainstorms.
Do you remember when we got caught in that hailstorm?
That
Or
sucked.
freezing? Ugh, that was not fun at all. That hurt.
I've been like with in our riding group, like Emerson. In one rainstorm I was caught with Matt. I don't know if you've met him.
I have.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
We got caught, and it was such a bad rainstorm that I offered he could park his bike at my house, and his buddy would come pick him up because he lived still 30 minutes away.
No, that's not fun.
Me and Emerson got caught in one riding up Big Cottonwood, and the rain was just torrential downpour.
When I got my first bike a couple of years ago, I was riding from Evanston back towards Ogden and stuff, and it's a freeway ride. It was a full-on downpour, like completely pouring, and I was on the freeway. It was the most terrifying experience of my life.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
like I had
being so new.
Yeah, I had my waterproof like upper layer, but I was just wearing like riding jeans, which were not waterproof. My boots were, but because the jeans weren't, the water just like seeped into them.
Yeah.
I got home. I had to take a hot shower immediately, and this was in the summer. This was like July, or June, and I was like, I am freezing.
That's
like,
what
it was cold.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like with both those rainstorms, like it was middle of summer.
Yeah,
both times I was like, I gotta go take a hot shower and get in a blanket.
Yep. Once the sun goes away and the water hits you, if you're like soaking wet, that like all semblance of summer goes away. You're like, you will get cold eventually because that wind chill will get to you. Yeah.
So stay dry.
Stay dry. Wear windproof layer, or either over or under your jacket, whatever is feasible.
Yeah.
So I guess in conclusion, I guess I'll just do a quick summary before we wrap up. For jackets, size up. Make sure it's nice and loose because it can always be cinched down. For cold weather. Layer. Don't get wet. Keep out of the wind. Don't get sweaty.
Yep.
Stay dry. Watch out for road conditions and weather conditions. And if it feels like it's too dangerous to ride, don't do it.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all that. Like those are what our recommendations, I believe, are. We've been riding together for a few years now, so we've kind of like had this like tag team back and forth of like what's working for us in the rides we do.
Yeah, and also like some people are more cold tolerant than others. This guy, and yeah, like I can handle a lot more cold than you. Yeah, and that's the case for a lot of people. It just kind of depends what you're kind of used to. But even if you are cold tolerant, you're not immune to the cold, and eventually,
you can still get hypothermia just like me.
Easy, like it will eventually get to you.
Yeah,
and also like the dangerous thing is like once you do start feeling like to the point of hypothermia, and this is like the scary thing I find about like hypothermia in general, you actually feel hotter than you do colder, and your body like almost, it's like a trick almost. So like if you've been freezing for like hours and all of a sudden you start feeling hot, stop riding. Like find shelter, warmth, whatever, because that is dangerous shit. This will kill you.
And I think it's important that we mention too, like with a situation like that, right? That's like if you're on a long ride.
Yeah, it's
if you're riding around the block, you still want to take care of yourself, be safe, be warm. But like I was so nerded out about like riding in my first year, right?
Yeah,
I was riding to work. I was just riding around the block or the neighborhood,
Yeah.
And I would get decked up in all my winter gear, and then I'd be back home in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it kind of just depends. I mean, hypothermia, like it's not like an on switch. It's a gradual thing. But if
it's situational.
Yeah, but if you're very cold for a certain amount of time, it will eventually you'll start to lose heat before your body can generate heat, and that's when it becomes very dangerous.
No, for sure.
But yeah, cold weather riding is not it's not like a simple thing to do. It's like, oh, just layer up and whatever. It comes with its own risks and hazards. So just kind of keep those in mind, and that's my
and I would say it's like
message.
Yeah, I would take it back to like it's situational. You're riding in cold weather. You have to like assess what your situation is. What's the worst case scenario, best case scenario for however long a ride you're doing. Pack according.
Yep.
Or equipped accordingly.
And if you're far from home and it's too cold to ride, don't risk it. Stay home. We care. Safety is more important than trying to make it.
It's funny, right? Because like I still think about that. Like, we made it okay. We made it home safe, right?
Yeah.
But that was pretty miserable. I think
it was miserable, but the road conditions weren't like dangerous.
But at the same time, I was thinking, I did have like a thought of just like, oh, maybe we should just like book another night or something. You know, because like we don't know what it's like up there.
Yeah.
You know, like we had like a couple 100 miles to cover.
It was the coldest like in our last like 2 hours of the trip though. That's why we kind of just kept going. But I think it was like that cold still in Colorado.
Yeah.
I think I would have been on board for like an extra night just for safety.
It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's
I think a lot of our advice has been like more for like if you're new to cold weather or if you're looking for advice.
And if you made it this far in the episode, if you have been riding for a while, if you like go on like lengthy tours or ride in cold weather and stuff, feel free to share advice, and we'll talk about it in the next episode.
I think that'd be great.
Like
I think
so. Let us know.
Yeah, I think we have a lot to learn from like the more experienced riders, especially for like the tourers who go in all sorts of weather.
Exactly.
So yeah, if you're one of those guys, or if you have thought, like we just love to hear from you. So.
If you're itchy boots and you're listening to this, let us know about your cold weather experiences, because you've had a lot.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Just once again, if you have comments, suggestions, and feedback, feel free to comment on YouTube or DM us on Instagram, or send us an email at tdtmotorcycles. At tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com. So,
and thanks again, thanks again for
listening.
Take care.